My name is Sienna Hale, and I used to believe family was supposed to protect you. I thought blood meant loyalty, safety, and love. But that illusion shattered the night I walked into my aunt's lakeside house, thinking it was just a quiet family dinner, only to realize I was stepping into a carefully constructed humiliation. The dining room was already crowded when I arrived, candles lit, silver cutlery glinting under soft lighting like everything was staged. My cousin Avery sat at the head of the table, glowing with the kind of attention she thrived on. I gave a small smile as I took my seat beside my younger sister, only for Avery's smirk to widen like she'd been waiting specifically for me. "We were just talking about you, Sienna," she announced loudly, as if the room needed her voice to function. "Everyone's curious." My stomach tightened. Curious about what? She tilted her head with exaggerated innocence. "Whether you're still floating." A few people laughed, not loudly, but loud enough. My mother's eyes flickered away. My uncle cleared his throat. And Avery continued, enjoying the weight of every syllable. "No career path, no relationship, no future plans. Just drifting." The room blurred around the edges, heat pressing against my chest. I swallowed, keeping my voice steady. "I'm working. I'm fine." Avery raised a brow. "A temporary internship isn't a career. And living in a rented studio at 29 isn't stability. We're just concerned." Concerned. That word tasted like poison. Concern meant judgment disguised as care. My father shifted, uncomfortable, but he didn't speak, not for me, not against them. That silence hurt more than their words. Then it got worse. Avery leaned back and crossed her arms. "Honestly, Sienna, it feels like you missed your moment. Some people just don't find their place." A few relatives murmured agreement. One aunt whispered, "She's always been sensitive." And someone else, not even discreet, said, "She should have followed Avery's example." My throat tightened. Something inside me cracked, not loud, not dramatic, just quietly, like a hairline fracture no one notices until the whole structure collapses. I held my breath, holding myself together by sheer force. I wanted to disappear. Instead, I sat still and silent while they carved me into a cautionary tale. They didn't know what I'd been building in the dark. They didn't know what I survived. They didn't know I was barely holding myself together after a loss they never asked about. And they never expected me to rise. They expected me to break. That night, I didn't defend myself. I didn't argue. I just listened, memorizing every word like fuel I'd burn later. Because they were right about one thing, I hadn't found my place. I didn't sleep the night after that dinner. I sat in my tiny studio apartment, surrounded by half-finished sketches, journals, and files. Pieces of a dream no one knew existed. My hands were still shaking from the humiliation, but beneath the shame was something sharper, resolve. For years, I had been building quietly, writing proposals, researching investors, working side jobs to save everything I could. The idea had come to me 2 years earlier when I hit my lowest point after losing someone I loved deeply. A space, private, intentional, healing. A mental health retreat unlike anything currently available. Not a spa. Not a resort. A sanctuary where people could disappear from the world long enough to rebuild themselves. I'd called it Havenmore. And while my family dismissed me as directionless, I had nearly completed negotiations with an angel investor who believed in the concept. But there was risk. If I failed, I would prove them right. If I succeeded, the narrative would never be the same. That week, I pushed harder than I thought I could. I refined presentations, updated business models, rehearsed pitches until my voice turned hoarse. The investor meeting was scheduled at a private estate overlooking the cliffs, a place far removed from the noise and doubt of my world. The morning of the meeting, I stood in front of the mirror wearing the same dress Avery mocked me for being too basic to wear. I tied my hair back, exhaled slowly, and whispered to my reflection, "You are not small." The investor, Rowan Calder, was nothing like I expected. He wasn't cold or distant. He listened. He asked real questions. He challenged me, but not to break me, to see if I would bend. When I finished speaking, there was silence, the kind that feels like fate waiting. Then Rowan leaned back and said, "Most people pitch a business. You pitched purpose. I'll fund this." My breath caught. Not relief, disbelief. He continued, "But understand this. Success requires thick skin and an even thicker backbone. People closest to you will resist your growth the most. Can you handle that?" I thought of Avery's smile. My father's silence. The whispers. The dismissal. And something inside me steeled. "Yes," I said. "I can." Rowan nodded. Then Havenmore begins today. When I walked out of that estate, the air tasted different, clearer, sharper, electric. The world didn't change that day. I did. And for the first time, I didn't feel behind. I felt unstoppable. The next few months were a blur of exhaustion, obsession, and transformation. Havenmore was no longer just an idea, it was a living blueprint taking shape piece by piece. Rowan introduced me to architects, trauma therapists, legal advisors, and designers who specialized in restorative environments. Every meeting felt like stepping further into a life my family believed I was incapable of having. I worked late nights until my eyes burned, slept in short bursts, and poured everything I had into building something worthy, not for validation, but because the world needed a place where hurting people could breathe again. Meanwhile, my family barely reached out. And when they did, the tone was always the same, polite distance. As if they'd decided I was someone they didn't quite know how to categorize. I didn't update them. I didn't owe them updates. And yet, there were nights I sat awake wishing someone would simply ask, "Are you okay?" But silence teaches you its own kind of strength. 6 months after the investor meeting, construction began on a quiet peninsula wrapped in forest and ocean air. The land had once been a forgotten estate, abandoned and overgrown, but I saw potential, not in what it was, but in what it could become. When the first foundation stone went into the earth, I stood there alone, wind cold against my face, the sound of machinery humming behind me. My chest ached, not with sadness, but with awe. I was doing it. I was building something no one could take away. Word eventually spread, not from me, but from the industry. Suddenly my inbox climbed with inquiries. Celebrities. Athletes. CEOs. People with power and money, but also quiet wounds. They didn't care about my age. They didn't question my path. They cared that Havenmore was different, that it offered anonymity and dignity. And just when everything seemed to be aligning, an unexpected message appeared, "Avery. Heard rumors about some mental retreat thing. Is that you? Or just another phase?" I stared at the words, emotionless. The old version of me would have explained. Justified. Tried to prove myself. But growth teaches restraint. I typed, "Yes. It's mine." A typing bubble appeared immediately. Interesting. We're planning a family anniversary celebration in 3 months. You should come. Everyone misses you. The irony nearly made me laugh. They didn't miss me. They missed access. Approval. Control. But something inside me whispered, "Go. Not for them. For yourself." I didn't reply. I didn't need to, not yet. Because by the time 3 months passed, Havenmore wouldn't just be a project. It would be reality. 3 months passed faster than I expected. Havenmore was nearly complete. Soft lighting woven into cedar walkways, quiet gardens planted with lavender and moss, glass windows facing the ocean so every sunrise would feel like a beginning. The launch wasn't public yet, only a select circle knew. But it was enough. Enough that whispers turned into speculation, and speculation turned into attention. And soon, my name wasn't just a topic for family gossip, it was a headline circulating behind closed investment doors. When the family invitation reminder arrived, a scripted group message from Avery, the wording made me pause. Please confirm attendance. Formal attire required. Dinner begins at 7. Seating is assigned. Assigned seating. Of course. Control disguised as etiquette. The night of the event, I arrived at the Hale family estate wearing a simple black dress, not flashy, not loud, but elegant in a way that didn't need permission. As I walked in, the chatter softened. Heads turned. Some faces tightened with surprise, others with curiosity. Avery was the first to approach, smile glossy and rehearsed. Sienna, she breathed, leaning forward as if greeting a celebrity for cameras that didn't exist. You look, well. I am, I replied, offering a polite but distant smile. Her eyes flickered, recognition mixed with irritation. She wasn't in control of the conversation anymore. Dinner began, and true to form, the seating placed me directly across from the center, close enough to be observed, far enough to be excluded. Toast started. Compliments flowed. Avery's achievements were listed like a resume read aloud: her new business partnership, her award nomination, her recent magazine feature. Applause followed, manufactured and predictable. Then she lifted her glass again. We are so proud of everyone here, she said, voice velvet and venom. But especially proud of those who lead with purpose and consistency. Not unpredictability. A few glances shifted toward me. The message was clear. Avery smiled wider. Not everyone gets credit simply for existing. Some of us earn it. Someone laughed quietly. Someone else muttered agreement. And just like before, my family allowed the cruelty because they were used to my silence. But I wasn't the same woman who sat quietly months ago. Before Avery could continue, a voice from the far end of the table spoke. Calm. Firm. Inarguable. Actually, recognition belongs to the ones who build quietly, not the ones who perform loudly. Every head turned. Rowan stepped into view, with 2 envelopes in his hand. Avery blinked, confused. Rowan continued, forgive the interruption, but I have announcements to deliver. Ones that may reshape tonight's hierarchy. His gaze flicked to me, not questioning, but confirming. This was the moment. The one they never expected I'd earn. Rowan placed the 2 envelopes on the table with the kind of quiet authority that didn't need volume to command attention. The room shifted. Chairs stilled, conversations died mid-breath. Avery tried to laugh it off. What is this, some kind of dramatic delivery? Rowan didn't even look at her. It's called acknowledgement. Then he opened the first envelope and read aloud, effective next month, Haven Moore will open under exclusive membership. Of the applications reviewed, less than 1% were accepted. The first approved members include public figures, high-profile executives, and several legacy philanthropists. He paused. Not for effect, but because the weight of every unspoken truth now hovered in the room. And there is only one founder seat. One lifetime executive key holder. His eyes lifted, straight to me. That belongs to Sienna Hale. Silence. Breathless. Heavy. Then it hit, slow shock spreading across the table like spilled ink. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. My father's expression crumpled, not with shame, but with something like regret softened by pride. Avery blinked too fast, like she was glitching. Wait, Sienna? Founder? Rowan nodded. The sole founder. The vision. The architect of everything Haven Moore will represent. Leo whispered, you built all of that? I turned to him, not with arrogance, but with clarity. I built it because I needed something the world didn't offer. And if I had waited for approval, it would still just be an idea. Avery scoffed, trying to recover control. Fine, it's impressive. But you didn't do it alone. Rowan smiled, not kindly. No one builds alone. But only one person led it. Avery's cheeks flushed red, anger simmering. So what is the second envelope? Rowan lifted it, tapped once against his palm, and said, an invitation. Avery leaned forward, waiting for validation, thinking it was hers. And that made what followed colder. It's for the Hale family, Rowan clarified, granting 1 weekend trial access to Haven Moor, provided the founder approves it. His eyes flicked back to me. Power pressed into the air, not loud, but undeniable. Avery's voice trembled. Well? Are you going to say yes? I looked around the table, faces that once looked at me with dismissal, pity, even embarrassment. Then I thought of the silence when I needed them. The mockery disguised as concern. The night they mistook quiet for weakness. I exhaled softly. Not yet. Avery shot up from her chair. You're punishing us? No, I answered, meeting her stare. I'm protecting what I built. Rowan nodded, satisfied. My father whispered, voice breaking, you became everything we never realized you already were. I stood slowly, feeling weight lift from bones that had carried years of proving and surviving. I didn't build Haven Moor because I wanted revenge, I said quietly. I built it because pain taught me what healing should look like. Then I walked away, not triumphant, but free. Because sometimes the most powerful revenge isn't destruction, it's becoming someone they can no longer reach.